Well, welcome and hello to every one of you. I'm so glad and excited to see you coming in on today. I really appreciate those of you are here every single week. Your presence is greatly appreciated as I'm hitting great channel goals with your assistance. All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going into something most people have been lied to about their entire credit lives. Real quick, if you missed last week's video, you can always get the link in the description. We broke down exactly what each credit bracket is costing you. Today, we're going to go a much deeper level because I really want you to get this. Because today is about the number everyone wants and almost nobody believes they can actually reach: 800. Now, I want you to do me a favor before we start. Type your credit score range in the chat right now: 600s, 700s, 720 to 750, 750 to 800, or 800 and above. I'm going to use this in today's teaching. It's very important for each one of us to recognize, take a moment to know where you are. The system wants all of us in such a hustle and such a race that we don't stop for just a moment to pay attention to where we are so that we can go where we want to go. All right, I already know what I see. Most of this room and many people who come to me get clustered somewhere, unfortunately, between 650, 700, and there are some that are in the 7 to 750 range. That right there, that cluster is the system's favorite customer right here in the room today. People watching this, you have to hold on to that, because by the end of today, you're going to understand exactly why the system built it that way. Now, this is important. Right now, every single month, there is a quiet calculation running on your credit profile. And if your score is anywhere between 680 and 750, that calculation is costing you money, real money, not because of anything you did wrong, because of which bracket they decided to keep you in. And here's what makes it devastating. They never told you about the bracket. They just gave you a score and said, you're doing great. I've been studying and working inside these scoring models for 37 plus years. I watched FICO 8 come out. I watched FICO 9 come out. I watched FICO 10T introduce trended data. I watched VantageScore 4.0 change how the models read your financial behavior going forward. And every single update had one thing in common: the ceiling got recalibrated. Not to help you understand the system any better, to keep the bracket distribution exactly where the system needs it to be. I've got to say that again just for you. The ceiling did not move to help you. It moved to protect the bracket. And here's something worth sitting with for just a second. Almost every person watching right now at some point had a bank, a financial advisor, or a credit monitoring app tell them directly or indirectly that 800 is rare, that it's hard, that it's for other people. That's not an accident. That's the system talking through every channel it owns. Do me a favor real quick. Type yes in the chat if someone, a bank, a financial advisor, a credit monitoring app has ever told you 800 is hard to reach. Type a yes. Have you ever been told that 800 is hard to reach? Because that's exactly what I expect to see and hear from individuals. It's hard to reach. Well, today I'm going to show you why 800 is not an elite number and why the single biggest obstacle between you and that level isn't your history. isn't your income, isn't your financial behavior. It's a belief the system installed in you the moment it gave you a green check mark and said, good. Here's what I'm going to prove today. The person sitting at 820 right now is not more disciplined than you, not richer than you. In many cases, a lot of these cases didn't even have a cleaner history than you. They just stopped reading what they were told to read and started reading something entirely different. Let me show you exactly what that is. Now, here's the mainstream story about 800. 800 is for rare people, perfect history, high income, decades of patience, and decades of doing all these things without any late payments ever. That's the story. And it's the most profitable story the system ever put into circulation. But let me ask you a question. How many of you have been told just pay on time, keep your balances low, be patient? That's the advice, right? Type it in your head right now if that sounds familiar. I already know it does. I hear it from almost every new client that walks into our business. You see, that advice, pay on time, keep balances low, be patient, is calibrated to produce 720 customers, not 800 ones. It wasn't written for your benefit. It was written to produce a very specific outcome, and that outcome serves the system perfectly. I call it the maintenance ceiling. The advice is real. The advice actually works. It will absolutely maintain a healthy credit profile. That's exactly the problem, though. Maintenance maintains. It does not elevate. And the system knows this better than you nor I know it. The monitoring apps celebrate you at 720. They give you a green check mark. They send you a push notification. Great job. Your score went up 3 points. While the bracket is still taxing you, still pricing you, still keeping you comfortable enough not to ask questions. Listen to my business owners. If you run a business, this bracket tax doesn't stop at your personal card. It follows you into business credit line, your equipment financing, your commercial rate sheet, every single one priced off the same ceiling. Let me tell you Robert's story. 715 when I first met him, paid every single bill on time. Listen, for 10 years. Never missed one payment in a decade of credit history. By every rule he'd ever been taught, Robert should have been flying past 800 a long time ago, but he couldn't get past 720 to save his life. Why? Robert wasn't failing. Robert was succeeding at maintenance, and the maintenance plan maintains. The system gave Robert the rules. Robert followed the rules. The rules kept Robert exactly where the system needed him. And here's the painful part. Robert thought he was doing everything right because the system told him he was. The real lesson is this: following the rules perfectly inside a system built to hold you will never get you out of that system. Do me a favor real quick. If you're watching this live, subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button because we want to get this in the hands as many people as possible so that they know exactly why they may be stuck and why, if they don't take action, they may stay stuck. Now, this is important. Here's what's coming next. I'm about to show you what the actual dollar figure this ceiling costs a working professional every single year. Not a guess, a number. So let's reveal this. An annual hidden tax. You now know what each bracket costs you. We covered that in last week's video, but at 720, you are the system's most profitable customer. Comfortable, paying, reliable, not asking questions. 800 is not a luxury tier. It is the only level where you stop being a product. Every year you sit at 720 with a spotless payment history, the interest spread is still running. The fee structures are still running. The risk-based pricing is still active. It just became comfortable enough that you stopped calling it a tax. Let me make this concrete. I've sat across from clients and run the numbers side by side. A customer with a 720 score and an 800 score, same loan payment, same lender, same week, on a business line of credit, a real estate refinance, an equipment loan. That gap is not a rounding error. On a mid-sized real estate refinance, that gap alone can run into the thousands of dollars a year. Money leaving your account every single month. Not because you're doing something wrong, because of where the system put your bracket. I had a client, Sandra, small business owner, 2 employees, solid revenue. She came to me sitting at 726. She'd been quoted a rate on equipment loan that made her stomach turn. She thought the problem was her business. The business was fine. Her personal bracket was pricing her whole operation. That's the part nobody explains to you. The bracket doesn't just follow your credit card. It follows every application you sign your name to. Now listen, if you're a business owner, feel this the hardest because this is what's going to hit you the hardest. Lenders don't just price your business. They price you. Your personal profile sits underneath every commercial application, whether you realize it or not. Fix the bracket, and every piece of paper you sign afterward gets cheaper. Now, approved versus position. The system doesn't want to see you at 800 as necessary as it is. It needs to see you as a person with all kinds of aspiration, something to be admired from a distance. So you stay satisfied at 720 and keep generating revenue for them. There's a difference between getting approved and getting positioned. At 720, you get approved. At 800, the system stops pricing you and it starts competing for you. There's a completely different relationship here. Now, re-entry into the brackets. Think about and think back to the brackets we mapped out in our last video. I'll say them again. 720 to 749 is a bracket. 750 to 799 is bracket number 4, and 800 to 850 is bracket number 5. The gap between 749 and 750 is not 1 point. It is a tier change. The gap between 799 and 800 is not 1 point. It is a status change. You don't need to want to be at 800. You need to understand that the system needs you to not be at 800. Once you see that, the goal changes. I want you for just a moment to pause and think. Have you ever thought you could have an 800 credit score because they've been working overtime to make sure you didn't think you could do it? In a moment, I'm going to break the biggest myth standing between you and 800. The one about perfection, because what the data actually shows is not what you think it shows. It shows you something that might surprise you. So let's talk about why everyone, including you, can get there. We've got to dismantle the perfection myth. Here's the biggest weapon the system uses against you. The belief that 800 requires financial perfection. Most people just simply don't have. That is the wall, not the score. The belief about the score. I can't tell you how many hundreds of people who have upgraded their mindset around 800 were able to get 800. You think 800 means no late payments ever, no collections, no hard times, no financial mistakes. Let me tell you something the data actually shows. That is not what 800 profiles consistently look like. What they look like is positioning, not perfection. That should surprise you. It should, because they never tell you this. The what is the scoring model actually reading? And this is important. It's not reading your loyalty to the system. It's not reading your effort, your intention, or your discipline. It is reading data patterns. If you get this, specific signals that fire or don't fire based on how your profile is positioned, not how hard you work. The model doesn't care how many years you've been responsible. It cares what your data looks like now. And your data and your behavior are not the same thing. That distinction is everything when it comes to your credit score. Now, the why. Why do the same habits produce different scores at different positioning levels? Think back to Robert. Robert's habits didn't change. His positioning changed. Same person. He was the same person. He had same habits, but he had a different position, and that made all the difference for him. The system isn't responding to effort. Credit scores don't respond to effort. They respond to data patterns. Once you understand those patterns, you can position yourself far more effectively. So the when and where. The when matters more to the model than the action itself. The model isn't just watching what you do. It's watching when you do it in relation to the reporting cycle. There is a specific window in every billing cycle. The model weighs more heavier than others, and most people never know it exists. All of my 800 plus clients, people who are happily sitting there, have all figured out that the when was way more important than the what. The where is just as important. Where in a credit profile does the 800 signal actually live? Most people unknowingly work around it for their entire credit life without ever touching it. The pattern lives in a specific part of your profile that conventional advice won't ever touch. They're in the right building. They just never found the right door. Now, listen, from my entrepreneurs, this floor isn't just personal, it's structural. The same positioning signal a lender reads on your personal file gets read again on your business file. Miss it once, and you're paying for it twice. Why most will never reach 800, even after understanding that the when is the issue. So I'm going to give you some things that you got to really get. Let me show you why most people who need 800 still won't get there. Not because they lack discipline, not because they lack income, not because their history is damaged beyond repair, because they will keep following the advice the system gave them. And that advice was calibrated to land them at best at 720. And if they ever get there, it is designed to keep them there forever. So let's get some of these things straight. Why not number one, the monitoring app? The monitoring app loves this one because it will keep giving people green check marks. Score went up 2 points. Celebration notification. It never tells you what bracket you're still trapped inside. Why not number two, the bank? The bank loves this one too because it will keep calling you a valued customer. Valued, not positioned. Valued. A valued customer is a customer who keeps paying the same rate. Why not number three, the advice pipeline? And the mainstream advice pipeline loves this one most of all because it keeps telling you you're in good shape. Good shape and top position are not the same sentence. None of that. None of it is designed to get you to the level where the system stops profiting from you. I want you to notice something about all three of those. Not one of them is lying to you. The app really did go up 2 points. The bank really does value your business. You really are technically in good shape. But technically fine and fully positioned are two different zip codes. And every message you receive from the system is calibrated to keep you believing they're the same place. The road to 800 is not blocked by what you've done. It's blocked by what you've been told, and more importantly, what you keep choosing to believe. Oh, this is important. This is important. This is important. You've got to get this, because once it clicks, you're not going to see your score the same way anymore. Here's what I want you to really sit with today. You've been trying to earn your way to 800, but 800 isn't earned. It's read. The system doesn't look at your effort. It reads a pattern in your data, and those two things, what you are doing and what your data is saying, are not the same thing. I'm going to say it again. What you are doing and what your data is saying are not the same thing. Once you understand the difference between those two, once you stop trying to do more and start positioning differently, that number that's been frozen starts moving. You'll be the same person, same habits, different positioning. Do you know Robert kept making the same payment, but he started making it where positioning changed, and it made all the difference. Now, I've shown you today why 800 matters, why everyone can get there, and why most people never will, because they keep following a system that was never designed to take them there. Because the truth of the matter is, understanding why the wall exists is the first step. Knowing exactly how to walk through it is the next one. Every question I just answered has the same root, and the answer to all of them lives in the same place. Let me tell you where that is. The full positioning framework, the exact patterns the model is reading, the mechanics of what needs to be positioned, the sequence, the timing, the structure. That's inside the CBL Wealth Blueprint. That's not a sales pitch. That's the answer to the question I just showed you that you may have. If you're a business owner, you're building a business, you know the funding readiness is tied to the same positioning gap. This is exactly what the CBL was built to close. Credit, business, and life aligned. Now, I want you to get this. I get these questions all of the time. Does closing old accounts hurt my chances at 800? Here's the short answer. It's not about old or new. It's about what that account is signaling right now. That's a positioning question, not a yes or no question. I want you to get that. I'm going to say it because it's simple and it can go right over your head. It's about what that account is signaling right now. That's a positioning question, and that's the one you have to answer. Second question, do I need a perfect payment history to get an 800 score? No. We already covered this today. 800 profiles are not perfection profiles. They're positioned profiles. Next question. How long does it actually take? Well, depends entirely on where your data is positioned right now. Not how long you've had credit. Not how disciplined you've been. Where your data sits today. If my score already went up, why hasn't my rate changed? That's another question I get, because a rate change tracks your bracket, not your score movement. You can move 15 points and stay in the same bracket the whole time. The lender isn't looking at your improvement. They're looking at which side of the tier line you're standing on right now. Let me give you these brackets again so that you get it. Bracket 1 is 350 to 579. Bracket 2 is 580 to 680. Bracket 3 is 681 to 739. Bracket 4 is 740 to 799. And bracket 5 is 800 to 850. And the system doesn't care that you've had improvement. They're looking to see which bracket are you in right now. Every one of those questions has a mechanical answer, and every mechanical answer lives in one place. One place. Drop a comment below and let me know, what bracket are you in right now? And what did today change for you? I read every single one. Let me help you get this, because I don't just want you to show up. I want you to be impacted. I want you to first realize that I teach 3 things consistent: credit, business, life. Most people want to spend all kinds of energy on credit and business. But I am telling you, the life component is mindset. The life component is what you believe. I am telling you that the credit system has spent millions and millions and millions to get you the credit score you have right now. They've spent all kinds of money to make sure you park right there. And for those of you watching who are sitting around 720 to 739, you feel pretty good. But the reality is, you are right where they want you positioned. And people, listen, if I were to show you some 800 credit score profiles, you would see people who've had late payments in life. You would see people who had collections, charge-offs. You would even see some people who've had bankruptcies. But they didn't strive for perfection. They strove for positioning. And positioning is all about you taking the next 90 days of your life to show this system where you are by when you do what you do. Oh, you've got installment debt, you've got revolving debt, and they've got their rules. They're going to tell you, make sure you pay on time. If you don't pay on time, you're going to get a late payment, and you're going to snap trying to get auto pay to make a payment on time. And meanwhile, the data pattern is looking to see what you did by the statement closing date. You're over here positioned wrong, doing the right thing, getting no credit for it. And another person is over here, properly positioned, spending the same money, getting moved to a different bracket. This person over here understands that their debt to income ratio can't be higher than 43%. So they're strategic about positioning and when they apply for whatever they apply for on the installment side. This person over here knows to practice what's called AZO, A-Z-E-O, all 0 except 1. They've got 5 credit cards, but all of them have a 0 reporting balance except one that reports between 1 and 3%. What is it? Positioning. And when positioning changes, 800 is easy. I'm spending the same money. I'm going to the same stores. I've got the same house. I've got the same mortgage, same car loan, same. But I'm going to pay a different interest rate because I'm at a different bracket, not listening to the lies of the system. Well, in the next video, I'm going to show you why the timing of a single report date changes your entire bracket outcome. And it's the part that costs people the most when they miss it. Do me a favor real quick. Subscribe to this channel. Listen, I really want to grow this channel. I just yesterday had my 365th day here. So I'm excited. I'm excited to cross over and to be monetized and all that fun stuff, but I want to help more people. And it only happens if you hit the like button, because I really want more people to see this so they'll be on top of this information just like you. Now, listen, my friends, I want you to be blessed. Send me a message, write me, give us a comment, because we really want you to get the 800 that I want you to believe today is much easier than they have made it appear. Be blessed. Have an absolutely awesome rest of the day. I will talk to you again real soon. Take care, my friends.